So I'm here with my mom.
Hey guys.
This is Charlene Spearin. She's my mom. We're in my snake room today, and my mom's up from Beaufort. She's visiting her favorite child, and you know, she wanted to come up here. Yeah, and
one of my favorite grandchildren.
Okay,
yes.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That would be Tegan. She's my daughter. She's recording right now. But anyway, Mom wanted to come up here and enjoy the snakes before she left. And to give you guys an idea, I'm 45, grew up here in Irmo, South Carolina. Ever since I was a little kid. When did you got me my first snake? It was a rat snake from Scott McKenzie.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? 13?
13 years old.
13 years old. And then it just kind of exploded from there. And I kept pygmy rattlesnakes and copperheads underneath my bed because I was a teenager and ignored the rules of my parents. But we had a lot of adventures.
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
Snakes that got out of cages that tormented his sisters, his two sisters.
Nobody died.
That's good.
Yeah. No venomous snakes got loose either. But anyway, so what we're doing is we're moving these cages over here. T, if you'll zoom in over here. These are 6 foot long animal plastic cages that I bought used from Craigslist. I've had them for a couple of months now, and I've been basically quarantining the used cages for a while now. And over the last week or so, did final disinfecting, and I've moved the furnishings from one cage to another, light fixtures, all that stuff, and added some stuff.
What do you use as a disinfectant?
Well, with these, this is different because these were used cages, so I treat them almost like a new animal. So I quarantine everything, not just my animals, but my supplies too. And especially with used cages, because you don't want a transfer of pathogens from like, there's a pest called snake mites, basically like fleas on a dog that can transfer illnesses from one animal to another. There are certain viruses that you need to be careful of, and just really it's a matter of just protecting your collection. You know, my policy is have a quote unquote closed collection, meaning that all of my snakes come from a small group of known reputable people, and with the supplies, like these used cages, go through a protocol where you do, like, I did pressure washing on these first, cleaned them with hot soap and water, then bleach, and then finally a product called F10, which is a virus killer that will kill anything else besides what the bleach doesn't.
Okay.
And I did that a couple of times over a period of about 6 weeks. I put a no pest strip in the empty cage to kill any potential mites in there. Took all that stuff out, cleaned them one more time, brought them upstairs, and then I plugged in 2 different Vivarium Electronics digital thermostats. Each one has 2 probes. I've got 2 heating elements under each cage. And so I've got a heat gun here, and basically I'm looking for temperatures that run anywhere from the mid 70s up to low to mid 80s, which is ideal for these snakes. And so what we're gonna do, T, we're gonna move the snakes now. And these are 2 Guyana red-tailed boas that I got from a gentleman by the name of Mike Eckert. And Mike breeds Suriname and Guyana red-tailed boas. And me personally, I think he breeds the best looking Guyana boas in the world. And this is one of them. This is a Parsons line Guyana red-tailed boa.
How old is it?
Almost 3 years old. It was born in 2018. And just a beautiful snake, as gentle as they can be. The Parsons line Guyana boas have what's called a ladder tail. You see the blocks on the tail? They almost look like a ladder. And they also have connected saddles, where a typical wild Guyana, which I'll pull out of a juvenile over here. Let me find one. It's easily accessible, but I'll show you. Okay, here's one right here. This one just fed a couple days ago, so I'm just going to pull it up briefly. But you can see how this one, the saddles are separated. There's spacing in between the saddles, and instead of having the blocks on the tail, it has typical saddle patterns on the tail. Where this one, the saddle is connected, and you can see that ladder tail. And if you breed 2 Parsons together, like I'll pull out the other 2018 Parsons that I have.
His tail, okay.
Yeah, I got it. And these are from 2 different litters. So, hey sweetheart. So these are completely unrelated, but they're the same animal. They're Guyana red-tailed boas with the same gene, the Parsons gene. But you can tell how different looking these 2 snakes look. This one has a lot of rose colors in it, a lot more red. The side medallions here are much more pronounced with the reddish colors to them. And it's just a different looking animal. And this one's a lighter, the one that's around my neck right now and coming down my arm, it's significantly lighter in color. So these are actually going to be bred together one day. Probably.
Do you have an idea of what the end result will be in breeding?
Well, the Parsons gene is a little different from typical hereditary genes. Like there's codominance, incomplete dominance. Now, I'm not a geneticist, so I'll probably butcher this, but if you breed a Parsons to a normal Guyana, you will get a certain number that will come out Parsons, like maybe 30% roughly. But if you breed 2 Parsons together, you'll get more Parsons, and then there's actually a super form where the snake is almost completely striped, which is weird. Only maybe half a dozen of those, maybe 10 have ever been produced in the world. And it's one of the few genes that are, one of the few like hereditary genes that is present in pure boa constrictors. Now, boas represent several different species and cultivars and localities and all sorts of stuff. I'm a locality guy, so all of my boas are wild types, with the exception of the Parsons, which is a spontaneous occurring mutation within that locality. So other mutations in boa constrictors are usually bred into other localities, so they don't become pure locality animals anymore. Right. Which my preference is to keep the localities pure. So I would never cross this Parsons gene animal into any of my other boas outside of another Guyana red-tailed boa.
Gotcha.
So, you know, Guyana and Suriname are part of what's called the Guyana Shield, which I'm going to move these guys into their new enclosures. So that guy, very happy to go into his new cage. And let's put her right here. Let me shut these doors. But Guyana and Suriname they're right next to each other, kind of like South Carolina and Georgia. And much like South Carolina and Georgia, which is at times separated by the Savannah River, Suriname and Guyana are completely separated by a river. So they're, from my opinion, like Surinams and Guyanas are kind of the same animal, but they've been bred, they've been line bred by breeders in the U.S. to create animals that look very different from one another.
I see.
So I'll show you an example. These are all my baby boas right through here. And again, I just fed these, but this is a Suriname right here. Hey T, come over here and zoom in on this baby Suriname. But this baby Suriname right here, it has these really high peaks on the saddles. You can see that they almost look like puzzle pieces.
Right.
Most Guyanas don't have that exaggerated puzzle piece, kind of high, what's called a widow's peak. Although there is a line called Cypress Creek Guyana red-tailed boas that do have very similar saddle patterns. But look at also the side medallions on the snake. Look how narrow they are compared to the Guyanas. There's little things like that that separate them. But you can see, even as babies, these snakes are very, very calm because they've been bred in, in my opinion, they've been bred in captivity so many generations that they've calmed down. Whereas my Pearl Island boas, which are relatively...
Oh, I see that one in there.
Yeah, this is a female Pearl Island boa. I've got 7 Pearl Island boas. This is my only adult. And she's a sweetie. She's really, really a nice snake, but my subadults, I've got 6 that are about 3 years old. They're not, I mean, they're not as tame. I mean, they're not bitey, but they will. I mean, if you don't handle them correctly, they might bite. But she's a very, very gentle. I mean, she has bitten me. It's been like feeding responses just from my own carelessness. Mm-hmm. But you know, once I get her out of the cage and she realizes she's not being fed, she's not going to bite me. Mm-hmm. I mean, I just hold her calmly. I don't get, you know, it's the same way I hold any snake, really. And so, you know, she just immediately realizes she's not getting fed, and then she calms down. Right. And that's pretty much what I do with all my snakes. But the other pearl Ellen boas, you'll see them when I take them out. They're squirmy, you know. Hey, sweetheart, get back in there. But like this one over here, one of my juvenile pearl Ellen boas, when I take them out, all they want to do is just kind of get away. They kind of flail about a little bit. And they're built different too. Like these are very narrow snakes. They're slender snakes. Mm-hmm. But they don't relish being held. Yeah. Whereas, you know, some of the other boas, I mean, relish is kind of a motion that I would, you know, delegate to a human, but you know, the other boas are just far more calm. Right, right. But, you know, I handle them consistently with calm, confident handling. So, you know, they don't get into a nervous, defensive shell and strike, because that's what I want to avoid. So, but, like, most of my snakes are kept in these large enclosures, which you don't have to. I keep my baby snakes in rack systems. Some rack systems I like more than others, like this one right here. Like, T, if you'll focus on this one for a second. Like this rack right here has everything a cage would have except for a light fixture. It's got climbing branches, water bowl. It's got a dry hide box and a humid hide box. And this rack right here has Hog Island boas in it, which are very, very calm snakes. This one is poking its head out right here. It's in this humid hide box, so I'm going to take him out real quick. And this is a Hog Island boa. But you see immediately, like this snake isn't trying to get away. Right. It's just chilling. And you know,
it's quite healthy and stocky.
Well, yeah, these boas were just fed about 4 days ago.
Yeah, I think I can see.
Yeah. So, you know, the snakes that I fed earlier in the week, I don't handle them that much because I don't want to disturb any of their digestion. Yeah. Because they can regurgitate, like especially young boas. You got to be really careful about those guys. But once they get to be about a year old, I mean, unless you screw up, they're pretty much bulletproof. Right. From my experience, if you get healthy animals from good people, and raise them accordingly, there's no issues. But you know, it's constantly evolving. It takes diligence, discipline, you know, to do it correctly. Yeah, a lot of research. I mean, there are people online that I've never even met. I'll use Chris Gilbert as an example. He's a well-esteemed breeder. I've picked his brain countless times. I've probably spent hours communicating with him over years, and I've never purchased a single animal from him. But he's just one of these well-respected breeders with this wealth of information and willing to share it with people. And I try to pass that along too and do my part. So it's definitely a community of people that have a shared passion, that are like-minded. That when it's done correctly, there's no competition or ego and anything like that. I mean, there's no place in this, from my perspective. No place for that kind of attitude. But
well, I want to thank you for sharing all of this with me. And,
yeah.
You know, not that I was totally foreign to it, from, you know, having you as a teenager, you know, growing up in the house, but yeah. Yeah.
And this has been something that's, I mean, it's been part of my life since I was basically a child. Yeah. I mean,
it started with dragons.
Dinosaurs.
Dinosaurs.
Of course, that's where it all comes from.
Yeah.
All right, that's it.
Thank you, T.